Welcome everybody to Blender Today number 75. This week, another update of what is going to be Blender 2.81. We are 2 weeks away from what is the feature freeze. So it would be like the moment where, okay, no more features. Let's try to make it stable and fix it regarding 2.81. But development for 2.82 is going to continue. I think looking at the development from outside must be very crazy. It's like, which version am I using? 280, but they're talking about 282. What? Yes. So there is a lot going on. I kept my headphones on because I like the music in the background. You can find in the description the author. This week there is news, there's updates regarding sculpting, regarding grease pencil, the outliner, the interface is a lot more clean and polished on every corner. So thank you for tuning in. Like 500 people. We are now ready to begin, but remember, we are live. We are streaming live from Amsterdam, the Blender Animation Studio, Blender headquarters, and this is Blender Today. It's the community that lives in Blender.community, where you can find the thread to ask the questions we're going to be answering towards the end of the show, after I go through the lengthy list I got today for you guys. It's insane. Awesome. And I wonder, once the 2.81 gets a bit more stable, it's gonna take a little slow down, but there's so many things they're waiting for. I can't hear myself really well with the headphones. There are many things lined up. There is the quadriflow, there is for like a new remeasure, there is a file browser redesign is also waiting, so let's get to it. The star of the show this week is coming all the way from Spain. This is not Spain. This is the feature that has been awaiting for so many years, for over a year now. The brush in sculpt mode now follows the shape of whatever you're sculpting. So yeah, it adapts to the surface. So as you sculpt, now the cursor will follow here the normals basically. So this feature has been asked forever. This is one of the first patches by Pablo Vazquez. That's why I said it comes from Spain. He's a Spanish developer that only 6-7 months ago started developing for Blender, and now is like I'm killing it in every aspect regarding sculpting and paint and the painting workflow in Blender. So yeah, this is the first. There were many features that already landed by him on 2.81, but this one is like the thing that everybody was waiting. Like, it's just a matter of looking at the discussion where this started, and it was like, look at the amount of love that people gave to this patch here in Fabricator. So it was committed in August 11, 2018. So 1 year later, it's now here after a long review. Because it's not an easy thing. It might look simple. I said, just follow the normal. But there is a lot going on, when you have a lot of high frequency details. How does it work? Does it like jump around, or how does it work? So there is one setting for this feature, which is called normal radius. You can find it here on the sidebar. Basically, it would be how much around the active vertex will be taken into account for calculating this rotation. So for example here, if I have it in 0.5, which is a default, then it will be fairly smooth. If I put it all the way to 1, it will be even more smooth, because it takes around the active vertex, it takes a wider area. But if you put it all the way to 0, you're gonna see that it's like very jumpy. But that's because it's very accurate. It's like there's no, or normal, basically that vertex, and it takes a normal. So yeah, leave it at the default. I think it will be fine. If it's too jumpy, just considering putting it up, but it should work well out of the box. The other feature that was implemented this week by Pablo, it's on the master, like this one you can try, everybody can try, is the world spacing for brush. So when you're painting, by the way, when you're painting here, there is spacing, right? How many dots per stroke are gonna be calculated. So the way Blender did it until now was My puberty just kicked in. I need some drinking, some whiskey, of course. It's not tea at all. All right. So the way it worked until now, it's the spacing was calculated in screen space. So it means that depending on the size of your screen, or also if you were around the corners, the spacing will be a bit weird. So if you change, for example, in the stroke spacing to be like a bit wider, maybe not so wider, but basically you can see here, this is the spacing. It is not slow, but it's basically just adding dots at a slower rate. So if you want to add dots, or if you want to have like a texture and have a pattern or stencil, this will be calculated in screen space. The option is to calculate it in world space. So that way you have the same spacing even if you're like around the corner of your objects, especially around curves. It's a much better, more predictable. So that's all for Sculpt. No, we don't have Sculpt layers yet, Rod. Sorry about that, but it's getting there. I think it's not gonna take that much longer. If you follow Pablo Vazquez on Twitter, he's been posting updates and on the things that are coming up, especially this one. It's the auto masking now is taking into account the normals automatically, so you can very simply ask and make a mask, and it will follow the shape of your mesh. So pretty neat what is coming up for sculpting. That's enough for sculpting, because there are other pretty epic features that were added, and this one wasn't. I haven't seen a lot of people talking about it on Twitter, or maybe I just missed it, but for me it's quite a big one. Remember last week we had the star of the show was the fact that you can now transform the origin of your objects, like without moving the mesh. So that way you can transform, you can rotate and scale. So that is that was amazing. Last week it was added. The moment it was added, it was white. The axes were white, and I mentioned, yeah, wouldn't it be nice if it had the colors? And by the moment I finished the live stream, I compiled again to do the other live stream that I do in Spanish afterwards, and it was already colored like an anti-alias and beautiful and awesome. So yes, very nice surprise to have that. And so that was the start of the show last week. In this area, in this pivot point, now there was another feature that was added that a lot of people have been asking for, but that's what I said, that didn't have a lot of noise on at least on Twitter, is that when you make a parent relationship, like for example, this monkey now is the children of this cube, so you move it around and it follows the cube basically. The children will always follow any kind of transformation. So if you scale the object, or if you rotate or whatever, it will follow the transformation. Now there's an option where you can only affect the parent's object. So you can transform the cube around and the children will stay there, because sometimes you want to do that, right? You want to leave all the children's alone and just transforming. It's like, oh, I forgot to change something in the object. So that way you can do it. And this can be combined even. So it's pretty nice. And if you disable that option, it will be just like as usual. So pretty nice. Yeah, really powerful. That's why I think it's something that it should be more hyped about, because it's something that it was missing for so long. You know what else was missing? Next feature. Batch renaming. Yes, you can now, the same way you can press F2 to rename one object, you can now select multiple objects and then do Alt F2 to rename multiple objects. It brings the batch renaming. So one note, if you're on Linux, you're gonna get this thing. If you're using GNOME, Alt F2 is a shortcut, but it's mapped to the operator, to the call function in GNOME. So for that, you want to go to shortcuts and change it to something else. So I myself, I like to set it up to be, for example, let's see if I can make it F2 or a similar option. Why is it not doing anything? So this way you can, there you go. I set it to Super F2, for example, and now I can use Alt F2. You can also search for it, of course. Batch renaming allows you to have to change in one go, to change many things. The rename of the object is the most obvious one, but you can also change materials. You can change meshes, curves. You can change the data inside of the, the object is the object, whatever, the monkey or a mesh, but inside can have anything. That is the object data. So in this case, it will be the meshes or the lights or whatever information is inside. You also have bones, nodes, and sequence strips. How good do you want it? You can affect only the selected. By default, it's the selected objects, or you can also affect all the 7 objects. That's very smart. Then you can change. You can find and replace. That's a default because it's the most used one. Then you can also do the set a name. Yes, you can add a prefix, a suffix, or a prefix. Yes, that's what the people were asking here. And you can strip characters. Yeah, pretty neat. Spaces, digits, punctuation. You can also change the case to lowercase, title caps, and uppercase. And in the find and replace, you can also use regular expressions. If you want to go nuts with the regular expressions, if you're not familiar with it, is a very powerful way to write an expression, to like only change the numbers or the text or the whatever. Yeah, you get the ideas, or the special characters. It's like very powerful. I suggest you to search for regular expression, and then you can see regex. For example, you can see how to change only the parts that you want. So very powerful. Very happy about this feature. Is finally here. It's been a while since people were asking for this one, and now it's ready for 2.81. Yes. Next. Yes, people freaking out. Yes, awesome. That's good. Freaking out is the way to go. Meshes. Yes, there are a few changes in meshes. There is a new option when you are using auto merge. So the auto merge is this option that is available under tool, that it's in the options panel. Is called auto merge. By default, it was very simple. It's just auto merges. Basically, when you're snapping a vertex to another one, it would replace the vertex that it was active, and it will merge them according to a threshold. Now there is a new option called split edges and faces. So after the merging, will split the faces and the edges. Very handy, but not as handy as retopology, right? Well, our boy here, Pablo Vazquez, again, it's killing it with the it looks like he gets bored of sculpting. Oh, okay, I'm gonna do some painting. Okay, I'm gonna do some polybuild tools improvements. So the polybuild is a feature that was added in early 2.80 as an experiment for the the tool. The active tool was added in 2.80. It was there for a while actually, but it wasn't completely fleshed out yet. It was like a proof of concept. But now our boy Pablo Vazquez is fixing it basically to automatically make quads. So you can easily and quickly make quads. It works. You can read here in the task D5573 on developer.blender.org. That is, it's smarter. You have the geometry preview. You can create, move, delete mesh elements from the same tool. Pretty nice. automatic quad creation. That's I already mentioned, but here it's basically for doing all kinds of retopo tools. It's very, very handy, very neat, and something that Blender didn't have. Also has pre-highlighting in Blender, which is not there even in edit mode, but this tool has it. So because it's a must, you need to know exactly what you're going to work on, what you're going to extend. So yes, very nice. And another step towards being more into the retopo flow. No, sorry, I didn't. Into the retopo workflow. That was a bad mistake to make. Sorry. Into the retopo workflow of the whole pipeline. You know, modeling, sculpting, etc. So let's see more. The let's continue with the interface. I always say I start by with the interface, but the features that I need to show, they deserved the first step. So okay, interface, small things that you're gonna notice. Maybe you don't notice because some of them are very small. For example, there is a in some of the options that, for example, in sliders or in like the sliders that have the label inside of the actual widget, now the two dots, the colons are now gone. So it's count and then number. Before it's count, two dots, and the added noise that it wasn't really needed. Then this one is very nice. You probably got into this sometimes when you're scaling the window, sometimes when you some resizing of your editors. Sometimes you end up with like a 1 pixel difference between one editor and the other, and that means you can't join them anymore. Well, that's not the case anymore, because thanks to Harley, the UI developer that is also tweaking all kinds of parts in Blender, he made it so now the join the join operator is a bit more forgiving. So now I can join these editors, even though I don't know if you see, but there is a very slight difference. So it's more forgiving. Basically, it's just like you don't have to be completely locked into that direction. So I hope one day we can actually just split windows, even if they are, or like join them even if they're not connected. I don't know, L-shaped editors. No, okay, maybe not, but it would be nice if it would be a bit more flexible. So next, the graph editor. Oh, that's another fix by Harley. Is this a small one, but if you're in the graph editor, you may have noticed that these dots here, the keyframes, basically didn't scale well when you were zooming in and out, and when you were changing the resolution of your Blender, it didn't scale really well. Now it does. Now it respects the DPI that you're using, or if automatic if you're having a Retina display or high DPI. So moving on, another UI fixed by Harley again. Harley is another developer that it's looking into all kinds of small details here and there, some of functionality, and some of them are visual. This one I like. It changes the way of sorting in Blender for the outliner. You know, at the moment, Blender has can sort alphabetically or by order of creation, which is the default. Ideally, Blender would be able, the outliner would be able to like sort them, but that feature is not there yet. The fix that Harley did is basically to go from here, like Blender would be sorting first the first number, so it will be 1200, which is weird just because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, but in a more natural way it would be 1000 is higher, sorry, than cube 4. So in this case it will go to the bottom incrementally. So very nice. That's crazy. What's crazy? I'm looking at the chat, by the way, so I'm having a second look. In my new setup, I have it here right next to the window that I'm checking, that I'm showing stuff. So another developer that I I think last week I talked about him, Yevgeny Makarov. He's been working on improvements in even like in the same way that Harley is doing it for like some functionality and user interface. He also is going through these things that, for example, like the difference in padding from the top and bottom and the sides is not consistent. So you may have not noticed all the time, but if some parts have correct padding and some parts of the UI don't, it just adds to the noise. To make that nicer, he went through the work of going through the way these dialog boxes are created, some menus as well, and he now fixed the padding all over the place. So now it's more consistent and just looks nicer, you know? It's like, for example, the search here is like missing one part and it didn't have padding on the sides. Now it has a bit more and it goes all the way. So it's also here, like sometimes it went all the way to the edge, the sliders, but now there is a bit more of padding to make it a bit neater. So he fixed that. He also fixed the curves in the clipping for the curves. The panel for the clipping used to have this min X, min Y, max X, max Y. Now it's a bit more, it's a better aligned all the way to the other. It used to be like here, it used to be aligned to the right, a bit confusing. Now it follows like the rest of Blender. So it looks a bit more unified with the rest. And this was before the two dots were removed, actually, apparently, the columns. And another improvement that Yevgeny made is that before Blender, when you were closing Blender, you had images that you wouldn't save. This is a new feature from 2.80, by the way. It would show you like the amount of images you want to save if you haven't, and then some kind of warnings. But they were all around the same level of like this one is save change, that is like the title. But this one, the one on the bottom, they're actually more important because they tell you that things are going wrong if you're saving. So right now what he did is to make them red. So it's a bit more, you pay more attention to it. And also if you have modified images, they're going to appear at the bottom. So the way you're reading it's a bit more natural how you read the dialogue. It's like save changes, okay, but file path is wrong here, and this pack images is not gonna be saved. So then you proceed to read the dialogue. Small things that add a lot of refinement to the UI. And another patch by Yevgeny, this is a small one, but when you set a shortcut, Blender will show you this, like press a key, like press the key, okay, but why? What in context? Which context? He added a title that says assign shortcut. So, you know, it's the little things that make a software look more polished. And another small thing, but this time by Robert Bornoff. I want to give him a shout out because it's his first patch. Yes, welcome Robert. Thank you. What he did was changing the context menu for the lamps. You know, if you have a lamp here, if you have a lamp and you right click, change, you can change the energy, or in this case the power, how it's called right now in Blender. It was a change from 2.7 to 2.8. Now it's called power instead of energy. And the menu still said energy, so he went ahead and fixed it. It's a small fix, it's just a couple lines of Python to change it, but it again adds to the whole you know, experience to make it nicer. So let's move on. Phew, all right. Let's continue. This time, Workbench. So who uses matcaps here? We made there is a new feature basically that allows you to separate the specular from the diffuse color of a matcap. So there was some people giving feedback about the current matcaps in Blender. So if you go to, for example, Sculpting, that you have already matcaps set up, there were a few matcaps that were a bit too metallic. You know, like it had reflections or the specular to bright, to metallic. So based on that, the developer Jorun Bakker worked on a new feature that allows you to split those, the specular from the diffuse. Thing is, we need new matcaps for that. The matcaps, it's not automatic because the matcap is an image basically. So in order to have that splitted, we need to have the EXR file with one pass for the specular and one pass for the diffuse color. There was a call for content that I made last week in the Blender Dev Talk forums, where you can find the call for content here. Call for content matcaps source file. So in this thread, you're gonna see that I made the other day. You're gonna see the similar to the call for content that I did last year for asking for the matcaps. Now you're going to see that it's the same process, but it's a bit more involved because you have to render in 2 passes. For that, we made a demo file that allows you to do this for you. Basically, you have a render, your matcap, you just render, it's already enabled. You just render the specular pass, and you can export a file with these two things lined up. The 2 passes line up, and people have been contributing already with these new matcaps. So the idea is to replace the ones that make sense. So if you're one of the authors of the matcaps that were presented last year, here these ones that were selected, please see if your matcap makes sense, like the normal doesn't make sense, or like this one, for example, the zebra lines don't make sense to have them to have a specular separate. But if they do, please get in touch and fix it, and that way they can be included in Blender 2.81. All right, let's move on, and maybe I can share this with you here in the chat so you go have a look, and let's move on. Grease pencil news. Grease pencil, yes, there has been updates, mainly like in the interface, and a few new tools that we're gonna see here. It's the here, let's start a new 2D animation workspace. Grease pencil news. There is a new mode when using the opacity modifier. So the opacity modifier, let's see, let's delete this guy, let's add an amazing monkey here. If you have the modifier type opacity, allows you by default to change the opacity of your whole drawing at once, all your grease pencil object. Pretty simple. This opacity can also be taken from the material. So by default, if you change the opacity of the skin, for example, here under fill, I can lower the opacity, and basically it's like doing the same. It's taking it from the material. But there's a new mode that you can use, strength. So this will take the strength of the points that you're drawing and use it as a factor to change the opacity. It's a bit weird when at first, to me, it was a bit weird how so what does it mean? Because if I, for example, make a drawing, let's use another. So for example, I make a line, what does it change? I change it to strength, and then nothing changes if you have it at 1. But say, for example, you have your painting. I found this after doing some testing. It's pretty neat because if, for example, if I do low strength, like 0.2, one line, cool. And then maybe another one, 0.4 and 0.7, a little bit more. And then finally 1. Now, because all the strokes have different in opacity, this factor will, having it in mode strength, will be the factor of the opacity basically. So 1 is nothing, but if you go all the way to 0 and you start going up, you see that the ones that have higher opacity will show up first, and then basically you can make them show up as you're drawing. So it's very interesting, the effect that this gives. Very fun, I like it. And of course you can go all the way to the slider lets you go all the way to 2, for example. in that way, it means that even if the opacity is in very, very low values, you can still make it darker by having a higher value. And this slider goes all the way to like, I don't know, 10. Yeah, you can make it look, you can make it very extreme, but I think the effect is pretty cool. So cheers to the Grease Pencil team. Here again, there's a new feature. It's not a feature. It's a fix or an improvement in the dope sheet and the here in the dope sheet and the layers setup. So one of the requests, one of the long-lasting requests by artists was that when you click in the outliner area, that the layers are synchronized, so that way you can keep one, you can everything in sync. You select one, you animate, and then go back. So basically, there is now a connection. So pretty neat. Thank you, Grease Pencil team. And Grease Pencil too. Grease Pencil is like a person, I feel. It's like, hey, hi, Grease Pencil. How are you doing today? You're looking pretty good. Another Grease Pencil feature related, Grease Pencil related feature is that you can now convert curves to Grease Pencil. And this adds support for converting curves to Grease Pencil strokes, and the materials too. It's also gonna convert the material. So for example, if you have a curve here that adds, for example, a circle curve, and you move it around, then you made your awesome curve, or text, for example, you can have text. I haven't tested how this works. Let's see. If I convert this, to, for example, a curve from text. So now I should have a curve, yes. What if I make this into Grease Pencil? It's gonna, okay, now I'm getting into uncharted territory. I haven't really played with this. Ooh. So this is Grease Pencil text. Nice. So yeah, and it even adds the materials. No. Because I didn't have any material, of course. But if I had, it will convert the materials as well. And let's see, now it's a Grease Pencil object. So I can basically maybe sculpt even. Whoa, I can sculpt text. Nice. Okay, this, oh, and I can animate it as well. Because it's Grease Pencil, right? So, oh, awesome. So for example, you have here Grease Pencil keyframes, and I can go to another frame, and I may move it. Wow, nice. Okay, sorry, I'm getting too sidetracked with this, but you can blow around text. Amazing. And the other feature that we're looking at here is that by default, Blender, Grease Pencil now is gonna show, when there is no material, it's gonna show it in gray. So it also means that, for example, if you're if you have a blank Grease Pencil object that doesn't have materials yet, when you draw, it's gonna draw in gray, because it's a nice, it's a color that you can see even if it's dark or white background. It's gonna automatically, and then of course if you add a material, it's gonna be assigned to those. But if you don't, it's gonna show it as well. Everything Grease Pencil, yeah, it's like everything notes, but everything Grease Pencil. Oh, everything Grease Pencil. Grease Pencil notes. Wow, that would be awesome. All right, let's continue. The some changes in the interface. This is more like a public service announcement that the draw mode in menu, when you're drawing in Grease Pencil, sorry, the stroke menu, it used to be called strokes here when you were in draw mode. Now it's called draw. It changed the name, and it contained it following the being a bit more consistent, following the way other modes do it inside of Blender. Also the feature is that now contains not only stroke settings, but draw mode settings like hiding and the cleaning up. It's all here now. You can see the change. There's also a few new features. So a lot of love and attention is going here. But if you made tutorials with Grease Pencil, for example, and you may want to update in 2.81 for this small change, or at least let your students know. There are also a few cleanups inside of those those menus for being a bit more verbose, a bit more clear, like duplicate active frame for the active layer or for all the layers. And again, the same for the right-click context menu. Instead of duplicate active, it says duplicate active layer, and instead of for all layers, it's all layers. So a bit more consistent, clean, and easy to see. So, all right, let's move on. Wow, miscellaneous, yes. There's a few things that I didn't know where to put them. Actually, I already talked about the transform origins option that we saw last week. This one that I showed just a few minutes ago, that you can change the transform. There is a shortcut for that now. That was also added like right after I showed it last week. Is Control period from your not the period from the numpad, but from the one that is near all the letters. So it's so you can turn it on and off. So for quick changing of your transform point, you can do it. So remember, control dots. Well, what did I press? I press a bunch of buttons. Next, this is riggers, rejoice. There's a few new options in the constraints for copy transform, copy scale, and copy rotation. So let's see them. The let's see. Oops. Let's see, copy rotation. When you copy the rotations here, here. Copy rotation, you can now choose in which order to override the Euler of the rotation. So by default, when you transform, for example, you have X, Y, Z Euler. You can also change it from here, but with the new option, the order, you can override it per constraint. So pretty neat. Again, and the copy scale, this is also available in the copy transform, if I'm not wrong. Another feature added to constraints was in copy scale. You can now make the scale uniform. So if the object has weird transforms, you can make it uniform by clicking here, and it's gonna take care of it. Next, and I'm almost finished, by the way. So denoising, open image denoise. This is more like another public service announcement. And I'm gonna go back to read this. Let's see how many questions we have so far. 35, and I update, and it's gonna get a bit busy. 51, gee, okay. Open image denoise, it works. Some people reported that it doesn't work. And it's possible because it requires a CPU with an instruction that is not available for, it's pretty popular, like it's available in most CPUs, but not on all of them. It's a SSE 4.1. It's an instruction of the CPU. So if you don't have it, it could have happened that open image denoise wasn't working for you. Now Blender will tell you, will say, show a note is like, we'll just let you know what's going on, what's wrong, and why it doesn't work. Before it was just not work at all. And the other fix that was done is that sometimes the open image denoiser, the Intel one, was taking too much memory, especially if you had multiple denoising steps. It would try to do them all at once, and it would just pile up in dozens of gigabytes of memory of RAM. So that has been fixed now, and it will do one at a time, because internally open image denoise is already multi-threaded, so it doesn't hurt. Like it would be fast still, and it will use much less memory. Speaking of memories, the multi-res modifier has been fixed, fixed/improved, and now it will use up to 25% less memory. So yes, if the multi-res modifier has been a problem with your something wrong with my microphone. All right, sounds okay to me. Sorry about that. Okay, maybe I'm speaking weird. Sorry. Or maybe the volume is too high. I can lower it a little bit. Let me know. And yeah, so that's about it. Multi-res modifier. Sounds okay. Thank you, people. That's it for this week, I think. While I load the questions, there is a work being done for the build bot for the Blender.org that is going to be tweaked so it can compile. This is kind of news, but it will be fixed, so improved, so it can compile the regular builds, the release builds. At the moment, for making release builds, the developers have to manually make them, and so it means that soon we're going to have faster buildings, faster releases, so we can release and re-release and make improvements. All right, so 53 comments and only 8 points. Poor Momotron, thank you for making the thread, but you're not getting the love that you deserve. There you go. So, okay, dear Pablo, hope you're doing great. Thank you, I hope you too. My question is about the Animation 2020 project. There is a task about feedback from studios, but no further info. Is it able to join a studio? As a studio is interested in giving constructive feedback. No, the project still needs more like organization. Things are a bit fuzzy at the moment. There are topics already prepared in terms of like fixing the graph editor, the dope sheet, and the library overrides, and there are many projects going on, but the project itself needs a bit of attention. So there will be news, but things are getting. Remember that in August, 2 new people were added to the organization of Blender project in general, Nathan Ledbury and Talay Felinto. So they're still sorting out. For example, today they were talking about the Blender phases, as in the Blender release phases. Phases, not face. What is the difference when you're pronouncing it? So the stages of release. So yes, there is an organization going on. All right, next question. Metal Physical Drama says, hey, I love your live stream. Thank you. I've got a question about the voxel remeasure from the Sculpt mode branch. It's not in the branch anymore, it's in master. So the voxel remeasure is based on a flat measure and limited to 0.001, which is 1 millimeter. Yes. This causes to be almost unusable for working on small things like jewelry. Would it not be better to make it work in subdivisions? Maybe. I'm not really familiar with it, but maybe Pablo Navarro should get over and ask. Well, we can ask him maybe, but I'm not really familiar with how it works internally. Maybe have you tried with hard coding it to less? That's like hard coding it. I mean, like clicking and then setting a smaller value. So yeah. Yeah, LaPC has one thing you can change is the global unit scale way down. Maybe that will work. Yeah, good point, LaPC. Thank you for replying. Cobra asks, what happened to the matcaps per objects and collections? Will we ever see them back? Yes, in the way of overrides. The overrides are getting there. They're slowly getting there. And there's work being done in allowing multiple rigs, multiple copies of a rig with different actions, for example, that's coming up. So yes, overrides will take care of this. At the moment, they're not there yet. Simon Monroe asks, with the Everything Nodes project, will there be any new organization method for all the different node editors? There are so many already, and I feel they should have their own section when changing panel window editor types. Yes, actually, there is the compositor shader. In 2.80, we split them into different editors. So I think that would be the way to go, just to have them not all in the same, but a bit more organized, because we want them to grow, right? So let's continue. 1,200 people. Jeez. All right. Let's get going. No pressure, Pablo. Click. Thank you, Simon. Next question, Sino, GG. Hi, Pablo. I wanted to ask about an old design for the gizmos 2.49 had. Well thought out, and it's easy to control. Not only it had a toggle between active and inactive states when you just click once and then translate like the GRS models. And of course, you can click and drag. Not having to drag all the time is great for ergonomics. Could this be brought back? Any DCCs and find the shame I got lost over time. Completely forgot about this one. That you can click and then it will be like a model. Yeah, I completely forgot about this one. I think try and yeah, let's make it a thing. I absolutely see the potential of this feature. I don't know why it got removed. But now with active tools, wouldn't it be the same case basically? Because you have one tool at a time that you don't have to make active, but it's always active, right? Maybe that's the reason why. Maybe you can put it on right-click select or in user feedback in the DevTalk forums. Next question by Penguin Burger. Oh, poor penguins. Will vertex color, ambient occlusion, baking be added back to Blender for the 2.81 release? Currently it's not there and used to be handled by the Blender internal before 2.80. Not dirty vertex color. And no, I do not eat penguin burgers. Okay, that's nice to hear. Will vertex color, ambient occlusion, baking be added? I can't answer that one actually, but not. I can say that maybe not for 2.81 because we are 2 weeks away from feature freeze, so maybe that's not the that won't happen now, but it could be proposed. There are many features that are still lacking from 2.71. Choppy audio. What is choppy audio? Maybe I can lower. I see that sometimes I'm picking at the top. Maybe I'm speaking a bit too loud. I lower the volume just a little bit just to see if it fixes it. Next question. So Cranked Pity asks, with this added, what differs between 2.81 and Sculpt branch now? And also, how is the new mesh data structure coming along? So there are no new updates as far as I know from the new mesh data structure, but it's mainly about porting this is a very long project. It's not going to be possible to do them before 2.81. Remember, 2 weeks away from feature freeze. However, there are some tools that people have been requesting for ages, so that's why they're coming in small pieces into 2.81, just at least we can have those, and then the more time can be spent into making this new mesh data structure. So let's move on. So yeah, and what's the difference? Well, not a lot actually. I think it had the modifier for voxel premesh, and mainly it's an experiment branch, like the grease pencil object branch. It's there. It's not very different from 2.80 from the master, and the idea is for people to test the tools and then they get migrated over. So there are not many, but maybe I'm missing. We need to ask Pablo. Next question, Frost Crack Studio. Hey Pablo, you're doing a great job with the videos. Thank you. Is there a way to lock the strokes size in sculpt mode so I don't change when you zoom in and out? Yeah, I think you can use absolute size. I think there's an option over there, or is it for dynamic sculpt? Look at it as absolute size. PK Go, hey Pablo, the grease pencil doesn't respect the keyframe types like the other objects. Hey, that can be reported as a bug, I think, right? It's a feature. Oh, tell us about the new rigger. What is it doing and what the animation course? And the animation course is gonna be uploaded per parts. It's already being uploaded at the moment. It's gonna be now in September. It should be like maybe this week or next week max uploaded. This is the animation course fundamentals on Blender Cloud. The new rigger is working on the rigging for rain, not spring, for rain. So if you go to Blender Cloud as a subscriber, you're gonna see that there is a post. For example, this is about the rain character. These tutorials are by Julian Kaspar. They're awesome tutorials, and they show the explanation about the modeling and the post exploration even, and the post polishing. So very interesting. Yeah, I love this training. I think the rain character development training is one of the most complete courses we ever done in the Blender Cloud. So very worth to check it out. Even UV unwrapping. Wow. Awesome. All right, let's move on. Is Vital Val asks, is already known which speakers are going to be at the conference? No, but that information is coming soon. We are making sure that all the speakers are contacted first, so we are waiting for them to publish the schedule. But actually, I have a picture where I can where you can see the Francesco and here I have it. So in this picture here, you can see the guys working, Francesco and Ton, preparing the schedule. So they just wrote down in the table and they're moving the talks and sorting them and stuff. So there will be one talk about Blender Today. We're gonna do Blender Today live from the Blender conference. That's gonna be interesting. I'm gonna be, I don't know, maybe I can wear a suit, you know, like and have a big mug, you know, like those late night shows. And I'm gonna do another one in Spanish for the Spanish community. We're gonna have the Spanish meetup. Next, why can't we have Blender Today 2 times a week? Because I am not sure why not. We should do it. It can't be today anymore. It can be Blender tonight. So, all right. What kind of info would you have in a separate show? I was thinking, this one, I always try to show things that are happening in the Blender main master branch that are already in. There is QuadriFlow, for example, but I'm not showing it because it's not there yet. So maybe it could be one about the branches, but maybe it cannot be too much. I would like to do some artwork as well. So maybe could do something similar to that. So let's see, the dragon. Why is some colors hard-coded in Blender? Why not allow all colors to be editable, like the icons and the face orientation? The face orientation is it's not possible yet. It was a feature added in 2.80, but it's just a matter of extending that feature. I think anybody, even from the community, could even contribute to that. It's not too hard to do as a new developer task. And the icons can be already changed. It's in the option in the theme. Just go to Preferences, Themes, User Interface, and the bottom you see icon colors, so you can change the icon colors of the toolbar and the outliner, or also if you change each one of the items, it's gonna change the color of the icons, for example, here. So you can change them depending on which kind of button you're pressing, you're tweaking. Let's see, next. Hey, I hope you're doing great, thank you. Is there plans to improve the weight painting workflow? I think it's actually easier in 2.79 than 2.80. Why? What makes it easier? Moreover, do you have news about the new animation rigging features like implicit skinning, tangent space optimization, and controls or modern IK? Like the free IK, I don't know. I haven't heard of that one. There is the implicit skinning is being looked into. The tangent space optimization, I'm not sure, but this is also part of the rigging. Is part of the Animation 2020 project. Now we have a rigger here in-house full-time, so we can work together in that. He already made up a patch even. He's a rigger, but he also tweaks the code, so that's pretty nice to see. So we could I bet we're gonna see more improvements on that soon. But I'm not sure about the 2.79 with 2.80. Why would it be easier? Next, Constantina 32. Some months ago, William Reinisch posted an idea about the new brush workflow. Are we going to see a system or a similar one implemented in a future update, or has the idea been abandoned? Which idea? Oh, this one. No, it's not abandoned at all. It's a must, but it's a huge project because it changes the brush system in Blender completely for everything, sculpting, painting, anything really. So it's not an easy task, but I don't think it's abandoned. Like, it has a lot of support and there's discussions going on as late as June. What is mostly needed here, there you go. William says, What is mostly needed is a developer to implement it. That's all. So the idea is there. We're just waiting for a developer to implement it. There are many things going on. There is the undo being worked on. There is a branch with fixes to the undo to make it faster. That's people are being asking all the time about this. Also, Pablo Navarro is adding like the brush, like the one I showed today, you know. So it's gonna be there. Just gonna take a while. We are getting more developers. Remember, you can contribute and you can help to get more developers in Blender by joining the Blender Development Fund for as little as €5 or $6 per month. You can contribute and be part of the change. Yada Graca, yo Pablo, yo Yada Graca. I remember, or Lada Graca, yeah. Wow, I need glasses, and I have glasses, but I look too weird. I'm not really used to it yet. So it's like Clark Kent, you know. Who are you? Peter Parker. All right. I'm gonna try to squint, and when I feel comfortable with the glasses, I'm gonna use them. It's a bit too new for me. I remember you guys mentioning that you were rewriting the mesh system. Would you guys work on a feature to spin the hidden triangles or quad generates? I'm not sure about this feature in particular, but yeah, the new mesh system would be the thing that Pablo Navarro has been proposed in the past to speed up for sculpting. But yeah, would be this kind of thing should be taken into account. So, but it's not planned yet, as far as I know. That Dragon asks, "Hi Pablo, I love the show. Do you think that Blender will remove or use the title bar on Windows in the future and do the same on Linux and Mac, or do a full screen option?" Yeah, that would be pretty awesome. Actually, you probably are familiar with this. I made a proposal really long time ago where the Blender logo and everything and the closing buttons, for example, the close, minimize and collapse, they will be at the same level as the rest. But it involves a lot more work because it will be it takes work. It has to be implemented for every operating system, so that takes work. All right, this is a long one up here. Let's see. Hello Pablo, here 2 things that I miss in Blender. So feature requests, are they allowed feature requests in the questions? Let's see. Stack like poke faces tool or merge by distance as an option within the decimate modifier. And also another addition would be to have some extra node for the compositor, adding noise. Yes, yeah, the gray node. Yes, that will be, I think maybe with the white noise could be used. But yeah, I see the potential. We actually, for Spring and for the previous projects, we always add like noise on top, and it's pretty common nowadays. So yeah, it's an idea, and it would be nice maybe for a new developer to work on it. It's a nice task for jumping into and making a new node. Another question. Oh, we're 6 o'clock already. Okay, 5 more questions. Let's see. Aloha. Is simulation caching workflow going to be improved in the near future? It's a bit awkward now. For example, for simulation pre-roll, you bake from 100 to 100. And then not touching everything in Blender, delete all the negative cache files. Then enable... Okay, so it's more like a bug report. It's very easy to delete all your simulations bakes accidentally. Simulation caching, it will be improved because the Everything Nodes project is going to use the nodes. Everything Nodes is going to use particle system as the first experiment to introduce the new nodes and get familiar with the system. That includes the caching and the physics. So yes. Number 4, Eddie Christians. Pablo, it was nice meeting you at SIGGRAPH. 2 things. It was nice meeting you too, Eddie. Will RTX build be official in 2.81? There are many commits going on about that in the... I'm not sure it's going to be for 2.81. I hope so, because this developer Patrick Morse is contributing now to the Blender code base and making the changes. It's gonna be experimental as far as I know at the beginning, because it still needs some tweaking, some love, but until it replaces completely optics replaces CUDA, if eventually. Let's see. Will we have fluids and auto destruction and destruction for 2.81? Manta flow fracture. Manta flow was hopefully planned for it, but it's 2 weeks away. Let's hope we can make it. Sebas, the developer, is gonna come to Amsterdam, so hopefully that will be faster once he's here full time. But I can't say. Hopefully it will be there. It was one of the goals to have it there. Number 3, Alf. Why isn't Blender working together with Godot on issues like viewport rendering and Vulkan? Well, they are switching their render engine to Vulkan, and Eevee is gonna move to Vulkan. Blender is gonna move to Vulkan eventually as well, from OpenGL to Vulkan, but it's gonna take much longer. I think they're doing way faster right now because it's their focus for the next version. And I don't know how they could work together though, because they're 2 different render engines. But yeah, it's they're completely different engines. Even though they use similar backends, they are different. But yeah, we had the Godot developers coming in February, so we hang out and everything, and hopefully in the future we can work on something together, maybe even artistic. Number dos. You that Ninja ask, hello, what about paper cuts review? How about this? Let the user decide which edge data showing on top. Yep, that sounds like a nice trick. I don't know if it's a paper cut. It's more like a feature request. It's not something that it was there, but no, it's borderline. Okay, last question. Asatroom 1995. Hi, I think that would be great if you improve the real-time cloud simulation. Wait, there is already improvements in the cloud simulation branch, and it's gonna be merged hopefully soon, hopefully for 2.81. Can you add a feature to cloud sim baking that can be stopped while baking? That way we'll be able to stop baking if we set some features wrongly. It's not possible to stop? Tricky. Not familiar. It's hard to see it without an example, but if it doesn't work properly, please report a bug, which, by the way, I know a guy that made a report, a bug video. This boy, one morning, after seeing some reports that maybe or listening to the developers, maybe having to deal with reports that are either duplicate or they are not well described, I went ahead and made a video, how to report a bug in 5 steps. So the video is fairly simple. Basically, long story short, you can go here somewhere where I have this top 5. I also put it in the description, steps. But if you watch the whole video, it's only 10 minutes, but if you watch it, you're gonna see how to make their developers' life easier by simplifying the process, basically, and by having having the bug, reproduce it, how to search, how to find duplicates, how to write. Even at the end, we're writing here the description together, and then we publish it. And it's published, it's reported, and while I was editing the video, which it wasn't like half an hour, I was just chopping some parts, the bug got fixed. So it was fixed during the video, and you can see here at the end that they even tested it, and then like an hour later or something, it was already fixed. So pretty awesome. That's it for this week. It's 6 minutes past 6. I'm already late. Sorry about that, making it too long, but this episode was full of everything, full of all kind of am I a bit too high in this video? Yeah, I think so. Okay, here. Thank you for staying until the end. It's been an awesome and very, very productive hour, we learned all kinds of features. This week we've seen from rigging, UI, transform. You can now transform parents without their children. Out of context, this phrase will be super weird. Like somebody that's not related to CG will be like, transform the parents. And then, okay, the new brushes. The new brush is amazing. The following the normals, that was awesome. Batch rename, that feature has been asked around for ages. Now it's here. Edit meshes, polybuild, the polybuild tool for making retopo. The workbench, you can now have the specular and the diffuse colors separate. Please contribute your matcaps in the DevTalk forums. Grease pencil updates, rigging. Sometimes we never see rigging features, and now they're coming. So it's being packed. Spoiling. Yeah, we're spoiling people. Are we? No, that's the developers and even people from the community. This week we have the first patch by Robert. Yes, by Robert Fornov. So yes, keep them coming, contribute, and let's make the awesomest open source software. It's not even 3D open source, because it's also 2D open source, and it's also for 3D printing, so it's like real D printing. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting a bit sidetracked here. Let's go with style. It's been a pleasure. I hope you had fun. I really had fun doing it. I even lost my voice for a moment. My puberty kicked back. So let's gonna be drinking some tea now just to fix it for next week, which we're gonna meet at the same time, in the same place. Hopefully, if everything goes fine. If you speak Spanish, tune in 1 hour. I'm gonna be making the same, but in Spanish, en español, o si quieres aprender español. All right, time to go. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you. Gracias. Ciao. Until next one.